What the hell are you wearing?
This is the miracle suit.
I've been up for 4 days trying to find our new musical direction, yeah? You're in this band as well. What have you been doing?
I do the costumes, you do the music. That's the agreement. And this, my friend, represents a major breakthrough on the sewing machine.
I'm not wearing that on stage.
I knew you'd say that. That's why I've made you the tweed version. I call it the library suit. See this pocket? That's for your library cards. See this pouch? Loose change in case you got any fines.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. How's it going your end of things?
I've had a breakthrough.
Oh, yeah?
I think I found a new note in between B and C. I always knew it was there. I'm going to call it Howard's note.
Wow.
I'll tell you how it works, right? I took a note, a sawtooth wave, right off this Pantomime 4, put it back here, regened it through itself, looped it back, mixed it with the sound of this crab committing suicide, and let it stew in its own reverb for about 3 hours, right? Now pump it all out through this shoe to give it that oaky timbre.
Cool. Let's hear it then.
Now go easy, because it's early days.
This is the sound of the sun. The sun's sound wave has been captured inside this steel sphere on the Texas Tech campus. Called the comma, the sphere contains 2 bells. Rung separately, you hear the sound of the sun. Rung together, you hear the sound of art and science coming together. The 2 sounds represent the comma, an acoustical anomaly.
All musical tradition has been bothered by people, annoying people, and in the Middle Ages to the Renaissance in Europe, people even call it kind of an evil, philosophically, like metaphysically.
Chu Wang is the artist who created the comma that's located in the plaza between the Student Union building and the library. He spent a couple of days on campus installing his creation and making sure it worked.
The East bell is tuned to the sun's pitch, many octaves higher. So when you ring it, this is musically the note of the sun, but very low frequency. We bring it many octaves higher to human hearing. And then when you ring the other one, you won't notice the difference. This is the mystery of the comma. When you ring one and you ring the other one, you won't notice any difference. It's the same pitch. When you ring both bells together, even though they sound the same when you ring them independently, when you ring them together, you realize the difference. How you realize the difference is because it creates a beat, which is bang, and then you hear the interference beat, which creates wong, 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 and then it died out, and then it comes back again.
It's that difference, that comma, that has annoyed musicians for centuries. Johann Sebastian Bach came up with the equal temperament tuning system solution that we use today.
So what you do, came Bach, and he really promoted this. Let's take the comma, chop it into 12 equal bits, and put them in between every step of the music. So that's why we ended up with the music we have now.
Even before it was finished, Chu Wang's silver sphere began doing what public art should, drawing a crowd that asked questions. Next time you're passing by, ring the bell.
That is awesome.
Does anyone know the definition of simultanagnosia? I was intending to look it up before. Does anyone know the definition of simultanagnosia? I was intending to look it up before. Does anyone know the definition of simultanagnosia? I was intending to look it up before.
It's the inability to perceive elements as components of all. It's the inability to perceive elements as components of all. It's the inability to perceive elements as components of all.
Do you think that the punctuation of the last line of this sonnet is merely an insignificant detail? The sonnet begins with a valiant struggle with death, calling on all the forces of intellect and drama to vanquish the enemy. But it is ultimately about overcoming the seemingly insuperable barriers separating life, death, and eternal life. In the edition you chose, this profoundly simple meaning is sacrificed to hysterical punctuation. And death, capital D, shall be no more, semicolon. Death, capital D, comma, thou shalt die, exclamation mark. If you're going to this sort of thing, I suggest you take up Shakespeare. Gardner's edition of the Holy Sonnets returns to the Westmoreland manuscript source of 1610, not for sentimental reasons, I assure you, but because Helen Gardner is a scholar. It reads, And death shall be no more, comma. Death thou shalt die. Nothing but a breath, a comma, separates life from life everlasting. Very simple, really. With the original punctuation restored, death is no longer something to act out on a stage with exclamation marks. It is a comma, a pause.
And all through the same space, all these things are going on at the same time, so that in this space there's not only my vision of you, but information from Moscow radio that's being broadcast at the present moment, and the seeing of somebody from Peru. All the radio waves are just the same kind of waves, only longer waves. And there's the radar from the airplane, which is looking at the ground to figure out where it is, which is coming through this room at the same time. Plus the X-rays, cosmic rays, and all these other things, which are the same kind of waves, exactly the same waves, but shorter, faster, or longer, slower. It's exactly the same thing. So this big field, this area of irregular motions of this electric field, this vibration, contains this tremendous information, and it's all really there. That's what gets you. If you don't believe it, then you pick a piece of wire and connect it to a box. And in the wire, the electrons will be pushed back and forth by this electric field, sloshing just at the right speed for a certain kind of long ways. And you turn some knobs on the box to get the sloshing just right, and you hear Radio Moscow. But you know that it was there. How else did it get there? It was there all the time. It's only when you turn on the radio that you're noticing. But that all these things are going through the room at the same time, which everybody knows. But you got to stop and think about it to really get the pleasure about the complexity, the inconceivable nature of nature.
The following has been paid for by a grant from the Windsor Pneumatics Foundation.
I wonder what the circumference of this record is. I wonder what the area of it is.
You could solve any of those problems without pi. Pi? What's pi?
Pi is a mathematical constant that represents the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter.
Did somebody say pi?
No, Steve, not pi. Pi.
Oh.
3 chicks, then I pointed at the door. A girl entered in, so that made it 4. I snapped one time, in came another 5. Add them all up, and that makes 9. The average age 26.5. Now that's what I call getting some pie. 5 of the chicks wore 6-inch heels. 2 of the 9 squealed like seals. 514 was the area code. Quebec, Canada, my winter abode in my $1.3 million chalet. High backwards, 5 forwards, all night and all day.
3.141592653589793.